Morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Well, our president is in the U.S. He's, it's a diplomatic shuttle. I don't know. It's a sort of a flag off of his presidential ambition campaign. Not too sure, but these are various, again, and then he's going to be the first president, the first leader from Africa to meet President Ford, so that's something of a distinction. But his visit, according to sources, reliable sources, will focus on the economy and security. You could also invert the order: security and the economy. These are the 2 points. It's an interesting thing because President Buhari is visiting President Trump after the infamous shithole remark that has since been denied by the president. So now our president is going to be going there amidst all sorts of challenges at home. Well, my friend and regular contributor, Dr. Fassi Yusuf, lawyer and communications consultant, is here to take a look at it. Morning, Fassi.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Indeed. It's an important visit, right?
Sure. Sure.
So it's time well spent when the president takes time off what must be his hectic schedule, because he has his hands full in Nigeria to do this. He has to be there, right?
Well, for now, it will be premature to assess the benefits. So it won't be proper at this stage to say it was a time well spent. Rather, the visit might be timely, might be auspicious. If you look at the nature of America, vis-a-vis the whole world,
yes,
being the policeman of the whole world, being the economic giant of the whole world, no matter the economic deficit we experience in America, yet America owes the ace to the stability of the world in economy, in security, in diplomacy, and in general affairs. If you look, the United Nations is based in America, the World Bank is based in America, the IMF is based in America. And of course, if America sneezes, the whole world sneezes.
Indeed. So I take your point.
The whole world catches cold.
Indeed. So I take your point about maybe being a bit premature to evaluate actually the value of the visit. But you're right. And I was really thinking in terms of time away from home.
From the monumental problems at home.
Yes.
Okay.
But in the light of everything that you have counted, then nobody can really say no.
You can only ignore America at your own peril.
Indeed. The other concern, I don't know how important that is again, writers have begun to say, look, the president has this penchant for saying things abroad that then go all around the world.
Internal issues.
Yes, and taking them abroad.
Being expressed, being exposed right outside the country. Well, I think that may be his own style, but then, as the leader of the country, he should pay attention to what the people, those people who voted him to power, and other Nigerians are saying. If they're saying that, look, this is not the way to handle issues, economic issues, social issues, that they are better expressed at home, unless you are talking about international affairs.
Yes.
If you are talking about domestic affairs, will it be proper? Does it make for a good leader to start expressing or perhaps talking down about the country, indeed, outside the country, and not having a better fora in the country to express them? But then that might be his own style. Well, we are yet to see how relevant or how irrelevant that style is.
Okay. Again, it's another point I take, but surely the president must see himself as when he's abroad, the ambassador-in-chief. And if any ambassador were to say the things the president has said, he'd be fired, but I guess. But as you said, it's his style. I wonder how much the president listens to his own men, because I imagine all of them must be quaking in their boots, so to speak, to borrow that expression.
So are we sure that of his advisors advise him to say them outside?
Well, I'm sure nobody would advise him to say the kind of things he said in the past. Look at what he said to Cameron.
It's in the realm of speculation, because we have advisors, good advisors, bad advisors, passive advisors, and what have you. So unless we know the internal workings of ASO Rock, the Federal Executive Council, the Security Council, and what have you, we might not be able, we can just be conjecturing
You know what you've just encompassed in what you just said is the fact that perhaps the president, he needs to be very, very careful about advice he's receiving, since as you've given all sorts of categories of advisors at his disposal.
Yes.
Remember, famously, Obasanjo?
Yes.
Saying that, look, you might be some advisors. I'm not duty bound.
I'm not bound. I'm not obliged to take to your advice. The worst you can do in this scenario is for you to put in your letter.
Indeed. Indeed, going by all you've said now to narrow down on what must be the focus, the economy and then security, whichever order you want to put it, both of them are crucially important. The president has been known to, I think, criticize the former U.S. administration for not doing all it could to help Nigeria. Interesting. It was a criticism that was laid. Now we have, what's the special jet? We have the $450 million down payment for the controversial, military, 20 military jets to be delivered over a period right up until 2020.
Yes.
And the Senate has been up in arms against that. But again, reading the press, you see that National Assembly, somehow they've intervened and they've backed down from the impeachment drive. Now,
we're yet to see that.
You're yet to see.
Yeah, because they've been given up to Wednesday. The Senate committee has been given up to 1 week to submit its report. Mm-hmm. The House of Representatives committee is also looking into it. Don't forget that the Senate referred into the Committee on Judiciary to look at the legal implication of what the president did and all the rest. And of course, you know that the senator that moved that motion will be hearing conflicting statements that it was intended to start the impeachment process. It was not. It was just to bring to the fore what the president did and all that. So we are yet to see. Maybe by Wednesday or Thursday,
we'll see
when
we
have the plenary session of the Senate to consider the reports to be submitted on Wednesday, then perhaps the picture will become clearer.
Now,
but the point to be made is this: the president never criticized the Obama administration. What happened before now was that they said, but because our military were engaging in excessive bombardments of civilian targets, and that they were not too sure if America would supply them with military hardware or armaments, they'll be properly judiciously used. Perhaps they'll be able to convince them that whatever America says to them, or whatever America gives to them, they will be used judiciously and will also be used to protect human rights, and that there will not be abuse of human rights.
Indeed.
So we might not know, but then there must be a reason for, because Trump has never hidden his disdain for Africa. But for him not to decide...
He denied it, of course.
No, his actions have...
Yes,
but
reading his actions.
For him not to have a change of heart and for him to be able to invite... don't forget that Obama never came to Nigeria.
That's right.
He never came to Nigeria. Despite the fact that we owe the aid to Africa. Because for every 1/5 of black people, there's a Nigerian.
For among others, the reasons you've just stated.
Yes.
The Americans are prevented by their own laws.
In diplomacy, there's no room for isolationism. If you do that, you are giving the group you are isolating enough arsenal to be more combative. Look at what's happening in the peninsula there, South Korea, North Korea, and all the rest. Despite the opposition of America and all the rest and all that. Yet, North and South, for the first time, leader of North Korea is meeting with his southern counterparts. That may be a rapprochement and all the rest.
It might indeed be. Even Trump has now said he's going to visit meet with the leadership of North Korea.
And don't forget that even America was trying to track the location of the meeting and all that, which Korea, despite the fact being his ally, did not reveal to America. So a lot of diplomacy is give and take. You cannot have a hardline posturing and you expect that things will go well. So if America decided to invite Nigeria, who is Nigeria not to say, look, I'm coming, and here I come.
So one might then theorize, along some of the things you've said, the indication of some of the things you said, that this is some sort of a rapprochement by Trump, especially the military hardware, the military jets.
Yes.
Ordinarily,
that we could not get over the years.
Legalistically speaking, they are prevented from, dealing with us, so to speak, because of the whole matter about active terrorist activity and all of that. But they've made this deal, and the down payment has been made. Yes, we have to sort out the spillover on that. So it might well be some sort of a reapproachment by Trump, because he must have heard the global outrage at his S-hole comment, yes. And arguably, this might just be a way for him. It's like both of them have something to gain from this, not least on the president's side.
No, I think Nigeria has more to gain. One, it speaks of the acceptance of Nigeria by the giant of the whole world, the policeman of the whole world.
With President Trump in charge?
No.
Yes, the president of the whole world, the U.S., with President Trump in charge.
Yes. No matter how slow or how irrelevant a particular president is, the institutions are there.
They are.
To make America the greatest nation in the whole world. And you cannot ignore America.
No, but the point I was making,
don't forget that
even Americans themselves, yes. Not all of them are happy with how President Trump is going about his job.
But the institutions are there to protect the American nation. You see, Trump is just a bed of passage.
Yes.
At most, he will be there for 8 years. He might be impeached. The natural things could happen and all the rest. But the important thing is that the institution works.
It does. It does.
So even if there's so many things Trump and so will want to do, but the system will not allow him to do them. And therefore, he has to really sit down and listen. If Trump has the power, he will have unleashed terror on North Africa, North Korea, and there's so many Arab countries that seem to be intransigent and all the rest. But because the system will not allow him to do all that. He promised that. I was in America then when he said, look, he was going to build a wall.
Yeah. By the way, that wall, he hasn't taken it off the table yet.
In fact, where is he going to get the money?
Well,
and he's saying that he's going to make Mexico to pay.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Mexico say, we are not going to pay. And the first thing he did to China retaliated. And he's having to have a rethink. So it's not that easy. But in Nigeria, we can do so many things because, our leaders, they are our rulers.
Well,
if they lead us, they will listen to us. Most of them don't listen to us. You only pray that the present administration will listen to us. Of course, the election is coming next year, so it's duty bound to listen to us.
Indeed. And as I said in my opening, there are those who are saying that this is part of the whole, drive up to proper opening up of the campaign season. Number one, that our president is healthy, he's sound, you can see it. Check it, shine your eye and look at me. So there's that to be considered.
Well, you see, one thing that is amazing is the renewed vigor, the renewed energy. It seems the president has been energized and that he's more active than even pre 2015 election. And don't forget, there could have been a lot of PR that you might not know. Most Nigerian leaders or administrations, they prefer to employ foreign consultants and all the rest to launder their image and all the rest, or perhaps to strategize for them. There will have been a lot of image laundry and all the rest in America to be able to convince Trump to invite President Buhari. And don't even forget that the Minister of Information was there 2 weeks before the visit to go to all these media houses to prepare the grounds for this thing, and perhaps to meet the lobbyist.
Exactly. It's a carefully choreographed event.
Lobbying is a very big time money spinner.
Industry.
Money spinner in America.
Sure.
And the unfortunate thing is that they don't involve Nigerian professionals.
But there are Nigerian professionals in the U.S. running these kind of firms. Hopefully, they would have been involved as well. Not necessarily.
It should be at infinitesimal level.
Okay.
I've been involved before as a PR practitioner and all the rest. I've had a cause to align myself with some lobbyists in America and all the rest. The point is that they prefer foreign lobbying firms to Nigerian ones. And again, what do we have in Nigeria? Those who served in the legislative houses, they now see themselves automatically as lobbyists. And the whole concept of lobbying is different from what they do there in in the National Assembly.
Okay.
So it's not a project thing that is being done.
Okay.
And they're not skilled in that area.
Indeed, because it's a highly evolved aspect.
Intellectual thing.
Indeed. Now, having gotten all of that to one side, not exactly out of the way to one side, so what can we expect, or what can the president expect to get on our behalf? No doubt he's going with a good hand. You ignore the size of the Nigerian market at your own peril. Nobody's going to do that. Yeah. So that's an ace, if that is what gamblers, that's the word gamblers use. That's an ace for the president. He has that in there. The next,
we're not doing much of trading with America now.
That's the very point. That's the very point that the president must be seeking.
The oil that tied us together has separated us.
Precisely.
Because America now is not a big exporter of crude oil.
So,
and even refined oil.
So that is why I was, sort of prevaricating on whether to say economy and security or security and economy, even though both are important. Now, that's something the president must have top of his agenda.
The one thing you must notice is that America is harboring the highest number of Nigerians in the whole world.
That's right.
So that in itself is significant, because the amount repatriated to Nigeria alone from America it has a lot of quantum size that any country will know to neglect.
So how to now widen the potential for trade is going to be topmost on his mind. I expect, well, I don't know how these meetings go, but I expect the whole business, he would have taken a delegation from the business community.
Honestly, I haven't been in government myself before. I'm appalled at the way things are handled these days. Normally, we have been briefed on this visit, and what are we taking there, and what do we expect to take back?
Yes.
See, governance should not be shrouded in secrecy. By the time you do that, you remove this element or this thing that I call TAP. And TAP is an acronym for Transparency, Accountability, and Probity. The Foreign Minister should have addressed us. The Trade and Investment Minister should have addressed us. The Information Minister should have addressed us. Because we demand to know.
Indeed. And you see, when other leaders...
We're being governed.
When other leaders travel from their country, the people are briefed that this is very likely. If they don't, this is very likely to be on the agenda. In fact, sometimes they state as much.
The National Assembly should have been briefed. Perhaps the chairman of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs or whatever, those committees that have relevance to what the president is going for, you will also be there to accompany the president. And don't forget that when the president of America is going out, the chambers of commerce are represented, the industry represented, all necessary agencies are represented. So we don't know how many people went with the president.
Thank you. Is that we don't know. It's not necessarily that those people are not there. In fact, we'll be very surprised if they weren't there, given that this is the focus. And I think the much information we have on what exactly President Muhammadu Buhari is going to be about is coming from the U.S. side.
Yes.
That's this whole business. Our people might know it, but as you are, concerned that you're not sharing it with us. What if we didn't have them over there and the whole media campaign? And so they, because President Trump is involved, are letting us know that this is what the lie of the ground is.
Yes.
Our people, they're also doing their work, but we were not able to quote them immediately. That's part of the challenge. So there are already trade agreements between Nigeria and the U.S., but it's about widening and deepening this. What are the problems likely to be encountered that will have to be overridden? I can't think of any myself, but...
I think the first critical thing to be looked into is the issue of security.
Okay, security first. Yes, because when you got security...
Yeah, we're talking about the spate of massacre in Nigeria. And again, what is the status of this war against Boko Haram? Have they been technically decimated or technically wiped out? We continue to hear sort of cliches that, look, Boko Haram has been technically defeated, has been clinically defeated, and yet we now spend billions and billions. And like somebody was asking yesterday, like, look, I might be ignorant, but what's this thing, when you take your Google map, you're able to look at so many things. But when you now have a sophisticated aircraft, or unmanned aircraft and all the rest.
A drone or
The
anything.
drone and all the rest. What sort of information are we getting from there? And how useful is this information or these pieces of information? And have they been able to translate them to to the benefit of crushing Boko Haram? Because
Well, we'll probably hear that those are top secret matters, you know.
they are top secret matters, but then we can only know how active, how proactive, how strategic they are.
when they
if
professionally share.
Not only that, when
of
we
this
see
information.
results, for example, up to last weekend, Maiduguri was still attacked.
Killings are still going on.
Maiduguri was still attacked. Then the fringes of Lake Chad and all the rest, we all sort of things and all the rest, apart from the crisis in that region, because of the shrinking nature of Lake Chad, that was the third in the whole world. Now, something of now of little or no economic benefits, and yet Boko Haram is using that area and all the rest. So what are we doing?
Well, that's something that I'm sure
Will
the
be
American
discussed.
people and President Trump
perhaps-
will want to
and
talk
perhaps
about.
the president will have gone with his security advisors or his military chiefs to be able to share information with them and perhaps to seek for assistance.
Yes. Now, this is an interesting point because you referred to America, you know, in passing colloquially as policeman of the world and all of that. So they keep their eye on what's going on around the world. So the president,
they know everything about
thank you.
them.
That's the point. So the U.S. president he's not going to be ignorant on all these affairs at all. He has his own devices, his own independent sources of information, all sorts of spy networks, all sorts of
Not only that,
technology
how
networks.
much will president-to-president discuss? Rather, if they can break into sessions, I don't know how they're going to conduct the whole thing there.
Is it that long a visit? It's a 4 or 5 day visit.
No matter what. I mean, you can have security chiefs meeting after 3 or 4 hours and all the rest. Whatever they decide, they bring to both presidents and all the rest, and they finalize and all the rest. So the economic team can also be discussing their own and all the rest.
Yes.
And the president will just be to harmonize things. The president cannot do everything.
You know, the fact that we don't know about everything, because this is a very, very important visit. It's the first African president that Trump is receiving. You would have thought that all our media will be awash with information on what's been going. And these visits usually are long planned, you know. So we've had all this time, but this whole matter about not sharing with us, and suddenly we're going to hear, if the president behaves true to type, we're going to hear one bombshell or the other, quote, of look at what president said. You know, of course, he's always denied it. The whole matter, the youths are up in arms. In fact, I saw one youth writing ahead, writing an open letter to Trump, say before the president comes and calls me a lazy youth.
I think it was a PR problem because the president, I think it was twisted. And you might not blame people because the PR aspect of the presidency is not being handled properly. And because perhaps the professionals there, or those people there are not really professionals, that's a the difference between journalism and public relations. And that we ought to know. I mean, writing in the newspaper or broadcasting, they are different from public relations. If you are not schooled in that aspect, you continue to make blunders. So I don't know those advising the president when foreign correspondents will have access to the president, to interview the president, and yet the local provisions that will report to the market, to the Nigerian market, are not being given the opportunity.
But this is the pattern in Nigeria. We've had this
the
problem with Obasanjo.
And the other pattern too is that the president will surround himself with government media. The independent media are left out. And the government media will do the employer's bidding.
Yeah, but is it always the case?
The aphorism in journalism that you pays the piper.
Haven't we got more progressive as we've gone along?
I'm yet to see how many independent media are with the president on this visit. But I'm sure that MTA will be there.
Yes.
I'm sure FRCN will be there. I'm sure that the Voice of Nigeria will be there.
Of course.
Or a news agency will be there.
Yes.
These 4 agencies will be there. But what about independent that people tend to rely more and they believe that they have credibility?
Yes, because we've seen problems in this. Let me take in George. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling.
Good morning to Dr. Yusuf.
Yes,
thank you.
Uncle Yori, this accusation of the president for speaking abroad, I think it is clearly misunderstood. Every president does it. What happens is that a president that visits another country, it is part of his itinerary to address the citizens of his country living in that particular country that he's visiting.
The speaking, Mr. George, the speaking is no problem. It's the misspeaking that people take issue with.
The mixed.
Misspeaking.
Yeah,
to misspeak.
If they ask him questions, he is obliged to answer. They are not living in Nigeria.
As an ambassador of the country. He's obliged to answer as an ambassador of the country. In fact, ambassador-in-chief of the country.
Yes, ambassador, and being an ambassador doesn't mean you have to be lying.
Okay.
You have to say what is true. And if all the things he's saying, nobody is saying that they are not true. They are saying that you should have said it differently.
Yeah, okay.
A president that is sincere must tell you the truth. Whether you have said the truth or not is a different question.
But Mr. George, for example, in a past visit, that fantastically corrupt, Nigeria is fantastically corrupt, and agreeing with it.
No, that wasn't what happened.
Okay.
In most cases, the reports are exaggerated or misrepresented. The president did not say Nigerians are fantastically corrupt.
No, it's not the president that said so. It's Prime Minister Cameron. He simply agreed.
Did the president agree with it?
Yeah. And when he was asked whether he required an apology, when he was asked if he required an apology, he says no.
This is a president that is out to fight corruption and looting of public funds. If somebody says there is massive corruption in Nigeria, is it wrong? That is the truth. Is it wrong? Look at what corruption is doing to us. So if he speaks abroad, it has to be reported by the pressmen that are there. I agree that well at home, he may have a publicity problem, like the speaker there pointed out. His media men are not equipped enough to portray what the president says or what the president is doing at home. That is that, Uncle Yori.
All right.
The National Assembly.
All right.
The same National Assembly has summoned the president to appear before them in regard to insecurity, quote and unquote, insecurity in the country. That killings are taking place here and there, he should come and address them. The same National Assembly members are questioning him for giving anticipatory approval to get equipment that is needed to fight insecurity. How do you see that, Uncle Yori?
Well,
the former president spent 5 years looking for ways to purchase this, this equipment. He didn't get it. He was using the private jet of a pastor to carry cash through South Africa and all that. We also ordered. An opportunity came, and this president has granted an anticipatory approval. The representatives that are supposed to understand and cooperate with him, they have decided to be threatening impeachment simply because he has given anticipatory approval. Is the money missing? Is there any money missing?
All right, then.
Everybody knows where the money is.
Okay, I get your point, Mr. George. Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. I got to go on a break now. Thank you very much. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. A quick break. Okay, welcome back. We're looking at President Muhammadu Buhari in the U.S. at the instance of the President of the U.S. And we've since been joined by Dr. Daniel Kere of the University of Lagos. As a matter of fact, Dr. Yusuf Self is of the University of Lagos. It's just I didn't put it in that way. He also lectures there.
As a fellow.
As a fellow. Mm-hmm. There you go. Dan is not a fellow.
No, he's a full-time staff.
Okay, so you're a part-time staff.
Yes.
But they call them fellows.
Yeah. Yes.
There you go.
That's status.
That's status.
Yes.
You know, you can't buy it. And you can't get it overnight. You know. So, but President Buhari in the U.S., we mentioned some things before you came on, Dan, even though you were already in the House. The fact that we don't know just about like every material detail of what's going to be going on in the U.S. Because it's not the first, we have some sort of an idea of the kind of things, but most of the information we've been getting has been coming from the U.S. side. Our people have not been feeding us, but now we see in the papers, oh yeah, Fassi and I were talking about, we don't even know the entourage. We just imagine that there will be a security part of it, there will be a business side of it, because it has to be so. Okay, we're seeing the Aliko Dangote, with the president on the front pages of the newspaper, of one of the newspapers. That suggests to us that, of course, the business community must be well represented. But what can you realistically expect, the president to bring back, going by the fact that security and the economy are going to be the real pillars he's in there on. Whatever else they want to talk about, by all means, let them go and talk about it. But what can you realistically expect?
What the expectation is high, but talking about realistically, it will be a different thing entirely. But however, we all expect that the president should be able to bring, the issue of security, the issue of the economy to the table, so that there will be some brainstorming on it. Essentially, when it is the situation that we seem to be helpless, especially with respect to the killings going on, there seem not to be intelligence gathering, and even if there is a semblance of it, sometimes we hear that, okay, something is about to happen, and yet nothing happens until the event finally takes place. So there seems not to be proper intelligence gathering. There are equally challenges of equipment.
Now, when you say there seems not to be intelligence gathering, well, I guess
proper. Let's say adequate. Let's say adequate.
We are not professionals.
Yes.
The professionals in that area might see it differently, as they constantly tell us.
The only way I will be convinced that they do is that you are able to, proactively
to translate into action.
Yes.
Successful.
There's no way I will know that somebody is coming to my house to kill me this night, and you expect that I will sleep there if I'm not well prepared. So if I choose to still sleep, it's either that I didn't get information or that I'm well equipped, prepared to deal with the situation. But they seem
prepared for suicide.
Whichever. Are you getting it? So the situation as it is, maybe that is the part that we will now say that they want people killed. If they are telling us that they have adequate intelligence gathering, and yet this mayhem is, is taking place, it means that
there will have to be some sort of an explanation for that.
So
and as you know, America has its own eye on the world.
Certainly.
It is aware, even before you report anything to it yourself.
They are the ones who eventually brief us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so they're going to want some sort of an explanation for all the killings. The killings that have been bemoaned by Nigerians, even though the government necessarily has to sort of put some sort of a spiel on it, but it's pathetic, really. When you look at it, it's pathetic. And now
the same pattern.
It's successful every time from the hands of the enemy. The president of the U.S. is probably going to want to be briefed, on this. And so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so that is why we're expecting that at least there will be some form of collaboration. So already the U.S. has done, some form of, contributions to the fight of insurgency, by way of whether donation or grant. I don't know what it is, but I remember there was a case where some, amount of dollars were...
So you used equipment were donated
yeah, good. Now we are even talking about the president acquiring, paying for, helicopters. These two kind of helicopters that are generating, a lot of furore. And then we are expecting equally that you don't leave everything to fighting insurgency while the people starve to death. So the economy aspect has to be addressed, and I do not know, because I recall when Obama was still in fact, not just Obama, practically every American president, whenever they make such moves, you find their economic team following. You find the businessmen, the business community, they go with all of that.
Yeah,
such that they
even go in advance.
Yes, so you see opportunities being explored and all the rest.
That hasn't been emphasized. Maybe by today, because we still have to give them the benefit of that. There's no how the president
but what would be wrong with
he won't just be swinging his arms going over there.
What would be wrong with his media team telling us the itinerary and, in fact, the entire
and the shopping list?
Yes.
And the shopping list, we don't know. The versions of the shopping list we're
we
having right now is coming from yonder.
Foreign media to give us all those briefs.
Reverend Dominic, good morning.
Good morning, Yori.
Yeah, thank you for calling in.
Good morning, your panelists.
Sure.
Good morning, sir.
Yori, I will wish that the advisors and the handlers of Mr. President will advise him to retract the statement he made in the Commonwealth meeting. That's to say, I did not mean, and I've read that statement, I've listened to him. There's no place Mr. President said the Nigerians are lazy. I didn't see it. Even though maybe what he said suggests that there's no word laziness in his statement. And I wish his advisors could
tell him to use this August visit to retract that statement and say, how are people who are so agile, who are wonderful? I didn't mean my youth are lazy, but there's not much infrastructure. It will do us much better than demarcate this Mr. President. And I want to warn Nigerians, we have one nation and one president. No matter how things are bad, we don't need to castigate our president. For now, we don't have enough president except Muhammadu Buhari. We must try to see how a way to come out of the quagmire we are. I don't think in any government they were enjoying what is happening. That you wake up every morning, there's a killing here, there's a killing there. I don't think any government enjoy it. Though they will pretend, Nigerian politicians can pretend and smile, but we must find a way to support this government to see if we'll come out of this trouble. That is my own contribution. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much, because it's all part of our image is tremendously important. The PR is tremendously important. And this whole controversy about the Nigerian youth, the youths are lazy. I fear, as you say, Dominic, there has been distortion. Yes, the president did say, according to reports, that, look, there are too many Nigerians that say simply because we're an oil-producing nation, then they deserve this, they deserve that, free housing, free this and free that, and it's not going to work like that. Now, that has sort of been encapsulated into Nigerian youths are lazy. I don't know how, you know, but you know that's how the spin that is actually put on it.
But the challenge is that
Fasty is the expert here when it comes to PR. There's such a thing as negative PR as well.
You see, what you have in this country is selective perception and selective amnesia. People tend to forget what they want to forget. They want to interpret what they want to interpret.
Sure.
And there's a build-up to that. Because people have been starved of information. So they've been left alone to conjecture, to think, to believe what they want to believe, and to see you the way they want to see you. Not the way your handlers have projected you and all the rest. You see, I myself, I was flabbergasted from what I've been hearing the media, and some of this, especially the social media, misinterpreting what the president said. It's very sad. But that wouldn't have happened if we believe in our president and if we believe in the handlers of the president. Yes, they came out like my colleague, Femi Adesina came, and Garba. She also said that, look, that was not the intendment of the statement of the president or the interview. What the president said was this, was that, and all the rest. And there was a transcript. The transcript was released, and yet our people still believed what they
want to believe.
So the point to be made is that public relations is not a one-day thing. You see, it's not a fire brigade thing. It is creative. It is proactive.
And it has to be consistent.
It has to be consistent.
It has to be consistent.
It has to be
so
consistent.
That it sinks
and
in.
Again,
you can't advertise with one spot.
We are here
it's
today.
not going to work.
We are here today, this morning, conjecturing what the president could be doing in America and all the rest. If we had been told the shopping list, from the shopping list, you can see, look,
that's what we'll be talking about.
Eliminate this.
Okay.
Emphasize on this.
Okay.
And,
okay. I got to take Mark. Thank you for holding on, Mark.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to your guest.
Indeed.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I think the first issue here is very simple. Hello, good morning, Mr. Yori.
We can hear you.
Yes, I was saying that regarding the guest position that we don't really know the entourage of the president. I think we all saw it on the television. I saw the African richest man, the National Assembly members, both House of Rep and National and the Senate. And I believe they cannot travel without the Senate hierarchy or the National Assembly hierarchy in the know of the president's journey. One of the things I see here is that we want to turn governance to be, we are in democracy, do not mean there should not be limitation to some official transactions, especially the way we see it here. We cannot be comparing to America. We can't have data to track everybody down. They have all the information. So some of us here, you heard the last time the American government withhold their position with us because of the secret they got to know that the military were, conniving with Boko Haram. So we must be conscious of certain security input in this thing. We cannot be singing at the marketplace. The Boko Haram live with us. They are with us. This is a different kind of war. We are not fighting the kind of Liberian war here, where the other one is on the other side. Somebody sitting down with you can detonate the bomb and everybody go. So we must be conscious of this thing. It's a new style of war that Nigerians are fighting. And the military were not prepared for this. It will take them time to cover up this gap.
Indeed.
But the tragedy of the whole thing is that we see everything political.
Yes.
If the country destroyed, will PDP come and rule? If we destroy, will the SDP come and rule? We all need to team up. An American will team up to defend the country first.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mark, and I think that's a marvelous point you make, which syncs with what Dominic, who phoned in, Reverend Dominic, and Fassi have spoken about. Look, that's our own. He's our president. Nigerians have to rally around the president. This is not a matter of being slavish or any of that. It's a matter of that's our identity. Nigeria is our country, and that's the designated leader of our country, and they need to be supported. But by the time the opposition moves in with its own PR spin, and that happens to dominate, well, I guess you can blame the president's men, you know, for not countering in a consistent and effective manner.
It has always been the case. Don't forget that during Goodluck Jonathan, Lai Mohammed was very vociferous. And he was seen as the spokesman of the country.
Yes.
So
and now the shoe is on the other foot.
He's now playing out. He's now playing himself out now.
Yes.
That he's now at the receiving end, and the opposition is also talking.
What
so it all
around?
depends on what you hear.
But
But the point to be made in opposition to the last speaker is that when you talk about seeing the president or his team on the television, not how many Nigerians have access to television? How many Nigerians are watching wars now?
Is there electricity?
Is there electricity? What is the purchasing power of the average Nigerian to be able to have a television early in the morning, to be gluing to himself or herself to the television, and be watching how many people are with the president, or to be counting how many people see on the list?
So I take your point, and hopefully Mark also sees that aspect of the whole matter, that, look, these communications, our PR efforts, our communication efforts have to be more holistic.
Yes. More strategic.
And strategic,
yes.
But also spreading it wide so that people have a clear idea of what exactly is at stake and what we're looking for and what we're likely to come back with. And then we can evaluate, as Fassi said at the very, very beginning, at the end of it all, how well we have done. But Andy in the UK, good morning.
Good morning again, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
God bless you. And good morning to your guest over there.
Good morning.
My contribution today, I actually had the intention of saying something else, but just to respond to your last statement that we need to support our government. But unfortunately, on this occasion, the government does not need our support. It needs our decision. The reason being President Buhari has put himself before his re-election of 2019, before the security situation and the killing of innocent Nigerians going on. So it has now triggered us to decide. It needs our decision whether we are going to return him or we are going to reject him. Because if a concerned president will not put his re-election campaign over the situation that is going on in Nigeria. And secondly, just like what my elder there said, the president failed. Whether it's a strategy is one thing, but it's a bad strategy. He failed to communicate with us where in Nigeria. So a president that needs the support of his people will communicate with them in Nigeria. And then he will feel the temperature, just like the other speaker said, and feel the temperature.
Well, hello? Oh,
He's gone.
He's gone. But thank God we got the actual gist. Dan, take that aspect of it. What do you think this position by, is that Mark in the UK? Was that Mark?
Yeah, that's from the UK.
Andy. That was Andy in the UK.
Yes.
That our leaders don't speak with us enough. They don't speak enough with us. And we've noticed this through the decades.
Yes.
Nigerian journalists, they have a problem getting, before the president and doing a one-on-one. And then any little journalist coming from, let me not mention names.
From anywhere.
From any other place outside of
outside.
Nigeria, representing a news organization, a broadcast organization.
They will even confess the things that are secrets to them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the ones that are supposed to be public issues, they don't even discuss with our journalists.
Is that how we are? Is that us? I mean, why do those things happen?
No, I think the
why do we
problem
take our
is-
people for granted?
I think
If that is indeed what is going on. Or is it that the presidents, going back to Obasanjo, especially, going back to President Obasanjo, is it that they feel that they don't need to know I'm doing the thing here, and so they don't take us as seriously as we require to be taken? But when they get abroad, because they see how importantly those people are taking their own people, they now begin to say things from over there. I don't know. What's your, what's your theory?
Part of the challenge is, at the very beginning of this particular, democratic experience, you recall that it was not votes that were actually bringing them on board. People were coming in through the back door, manner of activities were happening, such that they were not even too bothered about who votes and who doesn't vote. Votes were declared. I remember there was a case in Point where, as votes were being counted and the same votes were declared at Abuja, and Professor Iwu was called, and the man said, just keep counting. Meanwhile, he has announced the results of a particular election that was still being sorted. So that was a trend. And that seemed to have, taken so much ground in terms of taking the people serious, because they were not too convinced that the people have anything that they could actually do to them. Now, beyond that, you equally have a situation in which even the leaders themselves are not really prepared to lead the people. They just want to impose their will on the people, because if they are prepared to lead the people, you need to know what the people really need, what they want, what their position is. And it is only by interacting with the people that you get a proper perspective of what these people are experiencing. Now, that has never been the case. Okay. So that communication has been failing over time. Thirdly, there has been an issue of professionalism.
Okay, Sidi has been waiting in Jos. Sidi, good morning, and thank you for holding on.
Yeah. How are you?
Is it F-I-D-I, Fidi?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Morning. Yeah. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead.
Fidi, not Fidi. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
What I'm trying to say about just the Reverend Dominic have said, I just want to comment on this.
Sure.
It is not right when you know the truth. You decided to dodge it. You have to go straight to the point and make sure that you contributed to other people who will benefit you, not people who will just here because of politics.
Aha.
As if you don't know it. You know what is happening in this country. People are suffering, and many people are being killed. The president is doing nothing about it. It's better for him to face the reality and see that all this killing come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, this is the challenge of leadership. This is the challenge of leadership, because Fidi just said in there that all these deaths, all these killings, and the president is not doing anything about it. Now, that cannot be a statement of fact. But it's probably a statement born of frustration.
That is a perception.
So that's the perception
because
that he has.
You see, what you need to understand is that if something is happening and you are doing something about it, and the thing is still happening consistently, almost at a higher scale, then it will seem as if you are not doing anything. And I think that is the sense in which he has presented, because the killings are still going on. It has never abated. There seems not to be any, strategic approach to addressing the challenges. So people will take it for granted that you are not doing anything until you are able to put an end to it, at least, or reduce it to the barest minimum. Then, secondly, he has not even done any proper condemnation of these killers themselves.
Okay.
So when you have classified some groups as terrorist bodies, the one that even worldwide has been declared a terrorist body, you've not even made any comment about it. So it will give people the impression that you are not doing anything about it. But I do not want to believe that he will be happy about the killings.
No, there's no way.
That.
And also it can't be that he's not doing anything about it.
Yeah,
but as you say, people want to see the results.
Beautiful.
If I see results, then there's no way I'll be saying this.
It's not all about planning. Let the planning
Mayati Allah, this whole cattle herdsman issue is another thing, and you combine this with the whole matter of human rights, which is very, very important to the U.S. and Western world generally. That's also something that's going to figure in this. I can expect that America is going to bring it up. Because there are lobbyists that are also presenting, even maybe the opposition itself.
Even
the opposition. They're all presenting that, look, ask him about this. trying to put their own spin on things. That's another challenge.
Another challenge, yes.
Okay, before you respond to that, Benga in Minna, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
My contribution is, you see, the president, even though people have been saying that he's doing nothing on this issue of peace, and the truth is that he's saying it, but he's not acting.
Okay.
Why do I say so? You see, look at the thing that happened in Benue State. These people continue because, and the police are not being deployed over there to take over the situation. And not only that, look at Kaduna, look at the crisis in Kaduna. Government is only coming to the media to say they are doing something about it, but people are not seeing what they are doing. So this thing has to be stopped. Government have to do something about it. The other day, the IG gave an order that the weapons should be withdrawn from all those security vigilantes. And you discover that they are not going after the full herdsmen who are using sophisticated weapons to kill Nigerians. They are not going after other people who are using, in Kaduna, who are using weapons to kill the military. They are only answering the...
All right, then. Thank you for calling in. So very briefly, if you want that, the security aspect, because America is very, very likely to be seeing the whole matter of human rights and all of that from a slightly different prism from how we are seeing it. They make mention of, groups make mention of the Zakzaki affair. The courts have intervened. The Nigerian government appears to be recalcitrant. So all of those, the Nigerian army has said to be excessive in its deployment of force and all of that. Those are the kind of things that no doubt the Americans they're going to want to be reassured about, because it figures in the attitude of America being lukewarm in the past. But now that there's another a sort of reapproachment, these are the areas that no doubt the president must hit on the nail on the head to assure them that all is indeed well. Very, very briefly, please. We've completely run out of time.
Yes, the president and the entire president administration must really come together and strategize on how to run this country.
Okay, but that's not a function of his visit to America.
No, they'll be told. They'll be told.
They'll be told.
Your minister saying that the state government caused this situation and not rest, and the IG was asked to stay in the Benue State. He did not stay.
Yeah.
He was given a query. Up to this moment, we've not seen the outcome.
Yeah.
And the Minister of Defense has not been fired.
Okay.
I think the president really need to, wade into the situation more forcefully than it is, because there has been a lot of calls for, the overhaul of the security system, and there hasn't been any move in that direction. Maybe he still believes so much in this particular, set of military chiefs. But I think that there's a need for you to, bring in fresh,
fresh ideas
into the system,
and fresh action, so that people will stop saying what is being said now, that he's not doing anything.
It doesn't look as if,
that the
and let it not equally look as
anything.
if the military is actually trying to compromise the situation.
We've completely run out of time, but indeed I do thank you, Dr. Dan Ekere of the Department of Philosophy of the University of Lagos.
Thank you, so it was a pleasure.
And indeed, thanks to you, Dr. Fasi Yusuf, our chief doctor, as a matter of fact, if I want to go all the way, Dr. Fasi Yusuf, lawyer and communications consultant. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
All right, then. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folani. Bye for now.